From the grit and the grind to successful minds. Live from the entertainment capital of the world. Your hosts, Jillian Batchelor and Daryl Hannah.
Hello, hello, hello. Jillian Batchelor here on Vegas Real Talk. And today, my business partner, Daryl Hannah, is actually out of our office, but we have the illustrious James Batchelor, who's not only my husband, but also another business partner with the Batchelor Hannah Group here in Las Vegas. James, say hello.
Hello. Hello, Vegas.
So today we are actually talking about the Southern Nevada Water Authority and all things water in Las Vegas. I hear it all the time when people ask me, Jillian, you have all these people moving to Las Vegas. We're net gaining 150 people a day to Las Vegas. Do we have enough water? Do we have the room to grow? Do we have the ability to have all these people come to Las Vegas? And what is happening? What is happening at Lake Mead? Can I get my boat out there? Can I drink the water? Can I swim in the water? All things that are very interesting. And today we have Corey with the Southern Nevada Water Authority here to tell us all about it. Corey, can you introduce yourself and tell us what you do for the Southern Nevada District?
Yes, my name is Corey Enus. I'm with the Southern Nevada Water Authority. I actually work for three companies.
Okay.
Southern Nevada Water Authority, the Las Vegas Valley Water District, and the Springs Preserve. Work for all three companies. Unfortunately, I only get one paycheck. I am a public information coordinator, and I go out and speak to people about all the topics that you just named.
I love it. I love it. So that's what we're really concerned right now with. Can we grow? Obviously, we care about infrastructure in Las Vegas. We care about businesses. We care about families moving to Las Vegas. This is my hometown since the 80s. James, how long have you been here?
Since 2000.
And James, I know since you have been here and my whole life, even as a kid, we heard about water conservation. We heard about turning off your faucet when you brush your teeth. We heard about not watering your front lawns. And I know now none of the builders will put grass in the front lawn anymore. And there's lots that are happening there. So Corey, let's dive into that a little bit about just conservation efforts, where we are. You tell us what you want us to know. We're so grateful to have you today on our podcast.
I'll just start and give you a little bit of information. You mentioned that you've been here your whole life. I am a second-generation native Las Vegan. So my mom was born here in the 40s. I was born here in the 70s. And I have daughters who were born here a lot more recent than that. So I'm speaking to you not only as a representative of my organization, but also as a second-generation native Las Vegan. So the things I'm telling you are truthful. And if I didn't think that, I wouldn't have my family here or continue to have my family here. But the things that I'm telling you, I'm passionate about because it's where my family's from, and this is where we're going to be.
Good.
The same questions you guys get on a daily basis are the same questions I get. Every single day I get some form of one of two questions. And it's, are we going to run out of water? And when are we going to run out of water?
Okay, yep.
And the answer to those two questions is no. But it's not absolutely no. It's no if we continue to do the things that got us from 2002 when the drought started to now. And there are going to be new things that were developed to get us from 2022 to 2052 and beyond. As long as we do those things, we have the ability and, quite frankly, an obligation to do those things to continue to get us to where we need to be as a community.
Yeah.
Great. So I know you have some slides you want to show us and lots of interesting topics, and I might interrupt and ask a couple of questions as we're going. James might interrupt. This might sound a little self-serving, and you might get into this, but one question I have to ask you. Can I get my boat in the water? I just want to get out on the lake. We go to the lake every weekend as a family with our kids. We have a deep hole. I know that some of the launch ports are closed. Where can I get my boat in the water, Corey?
I'm not sure where. It may change from week to week or month to month or year to year. But right now, the ability to recreate is still there. We need to all find more ways to keep water in that reservoir, and that's what I'm going to talk to you about today.
Good. I'm excited. All right. Well, we'll let you take it away. We appreciate you.
So I hope to dispel some myths and some rumors, just a little talk about what it is that we do as an organization from a number of perspectives. 7 out of every 10 people in the state of Nevada live here in Southern Nevada. We are responsible to getting water to those 7 out of 10 people, and there's a number of ways that we do that. Southern Nevada Water Authority is in charge of all our conservation planning, our water supply planning, our water quality. We'll touch on water quality because it does no good to have a water supply if there's no confidence in that water supply and the ability to drink that water supply. A huge one for us is infrastructure, and then we do it all in an environmentally friendly fashion. You guys know where we get our water from?
The Colorado River?
Colorado River.
Okay.
90% of our
Ding,
water
ding, ding.
comes from the Colorado River. The other 10% still comes from groundwater wells that are here in the valley that we use to augment our water use when it's at its highest, mostly in the summertime.
Now, would those be the aquifers that everybody are talking about under the valley?
There are still groundwater wells that are here in the valley that we have the ability to tap into.
And we're not tapping into those yet. Is that what I'm understanding?
No, we do right now during this time of year in summer. We are accessing those groundwater wells, and they supply water in addition to the water that we get from the Colorado River. During the wintertime, we don't access them as much, but during the summertime, when use is at its highest, when people are allowed to water up to 6 days a week, we are accessing those groundwater wells.
Do we know what the levels are in those wells?
Yeah, we keep track of that sort of thing. It's not something, I'm not a hydrologist, so I don't have the ability to give you that information, but it's something we do keep track of.
Okay.
And so the Colorado River is divided up into two basins. There's an upper basin that's Wyoming, Utah, Colorado, and New Mexico, and then the lower basin, which we're a part of, Arizona, California, Nevada, and the country of Mexico.
Wow. Okay. Didn't know that.
And this chart that I'm showing you right now, that's how the Colorado River is divided up. And do you see that little yellow sliver?
The little tiny sliver. I see it. That's us.
Right there. That's how much water Nevada gets from the Colorado River.
Wow.
Less than 2%, about 1.8% of the water that comes from the Colorado River. You know why it's divided up that way?
Because we have a smaller population?
Part of it in 1922, when they divided up how the water was going to be used, it's based on agriculture, essentially.
Okay.
And there's no agriculture here in southern Nevada. Well, now marijuana is a little bit of agriculture, but
Yeah.
it was based on agriculture. There's not much agriculture then, and there's not much agriculture now. And so by comparison, California gets 4.4 million acre feet. But again, one of the things I talked about is it's not an us versus them mentality. A lot of those, our winter fruits and vegetables, are grown with that water that goes to California
Yeah.
and the country of Mexico.
So I have told people about that. I said, you guys like fruits and vegetables. We need that. So that would be tremendous, disservice to the country if we were to cut off California. People are always like, just cut off California.
Well, because the East Coast gets a lot of vegetables from California and vice versa.
If the Colorado River were its own economy, it would be the fifth or sixth largest economy in the world. So
Wow.
That's how important those fruits and vegetables are, not just to us in Nevada, not just to the Southwest, not just to the United States, but to the country at large.
Very
So that
important.
water is going to a good source.
Okay.
Everybody flies into Las Vegas. They see that bathtub ring as they fly into Lake Mead. They see how the Lake Mead levels are decreasing, and they say, why is Southern Nevada continuing to grow if they're sucking up all the water?
Yes. We hear that all the time.
Yeah.
All the time you do. So do I. But I just showed you we get less than 2% of the water that comes from the Colorado River. So it's not Southern Nevada that's sucking up all the water. So why is water declining? I'll show you a little bit about that. But this chart just shows if Southern Nevada were to take out its entire allocation at 300,000 acre feet of water all in one day, Lake Mead levels would drop only 3.7 feet.
Wow.
Whereas if California took out its entire 4.4 million acre feet in one day, Lake Mead levels would drop 54 feet.
Wow.
That's
So
substantial.
it's not just the growth in Southern Nevada that's causing the lake to decline, but we'll talk about why lake levels are declining.
Okay.
70% of the state's population here in Southern Nevada. 70% of the state's economic output here in Southern Nevada. But with that, Southern Nevada uses less than 5% of the state's available water resources.
Okay.
This just shows something that we all know. It's a visual representation
Yep.
of the fact that Lake Mead levels are declining. You can see where it was in 1999 versus where it is in 2022, where it's about 32% full. And so the big $1 million question is, why are lake levels declining?
Yes.
And it's quite simple. There's just less water coming in than there is going out. If you look at this chart, we don't have to know anything about anything. We just know the color blue and we know the color red.
Yep.
You can see on this chart there's a lot more red than there is blue. And so those red years are years where the inflow is coming into the Colorado River, that snow melt in the Rockies that makes its way down. Those are years that are below average. And the blue years are years where the inflows are above average. And so if you look at 2011, which is that high mark where the water inflows were 147% of normal, and everybody said, drought's over.
Yeah.
What happened the next 2 years? The two lowest years that we had seen back to back along the Colorado River.
So in layman's terms, is this global warming? Like, tell me what's causing this.
Global warming is having an effect. It's
Okay.
getting hotter and hotter every year. And now, as a result, you look at 2019, where that year we had 120% of average. The inflows were 120% of average, but what made its way down to Lake Mead was not average. because those soils are so much drier than they have been in years past because of global warming. As that water and snowmelt made its way down, less and less and less of it is getting to the Colorado River. Global warming, acidification are all playing an impact in what makes its way to the reservoir.
Okay.
Current Lake Mead elevation is 1,054 feet. And you can see from this that our first intake, we have 3 intakes that are in Lake Mead. That first intake is now inoperable. And 10 years ago or 15 years ago, we started building what is now the 3rd intake that goes up underneath the bottom of the lake bed.
Okay.
You heard the word shortage. Have you guys heard the word shortage?
Yes, a lot.
And so this past year, the federal government declared the first shortage along the Colorado River. But what does that mean to us here in southern Nevada? And I'll show you a little bit about what that means. So this past year, we took a shortage of 29,000 acre feet. So instead of the 300,000 acre feet that we have access to, we were allowed 279,000 acre feet. And as lake levels continue to decline, those shortage levels increase. The maximum shortage level for us here in southern Nevada would be 30,000 acre feet. So we would only be able to withdraw 270,000 acre feet.
Okay.
Again, what does that mean? Last year, we only consumed 242,000 acre feet of the 300,000 acre feet. So there's still room between the 270,000 at our maximum shortage and what we consumed last year as a community. Mm-hmm. So we still have a bit of room. We have less extra water is what it means.
Okay.
But in order for us to remain having less extra water, we have to continue to find ways to conserve. We are one of the most water secure cities in the desert Southwest.
Wow.
And it's because of the will of our community, because water conservation has become part of the fabric of our community, but we have to continue to do those things and maybe add some new things to our water conservation.
So I see that happening. Like, for example, let's talk about golf courses just for a second on that. And then let's also talk about, like in Summerlin right now, they're taking out all, like in the roundabouts, we had grass, they're taking that out. They're doing desert landscaping. None of the new home builders, like I said, are putting any kind of grass. They're putting in drought-friendly plant landscape. I know what you guys have done for years and years and years. Anywhere where you can get the money for your landscaping in the backyard, you can remove your grass, you can get paid from the water district. I don't know if you guys are still doing that, but where they used to replace that and you'd be able to do the easement, the water conservation easement. We see that a lot in real estate. So are those some of the conservation efforts that you're talking about? I know that we can't, wash our cars on certain days, or you put your sprinklers on certain days. Talk to us about that.
You can't have sprinklers on.
Yeah.
So absolutely, our Water Smart Landscape program is one of our biggest programs that we have here in Southern Nevada. I'll show you a slide that shows you exactly how much grass we've removed and exactly what that means for us in water savings. We have development codes that are in place. If you build a commercial property, you can't have grass as part of that commercial property. In 2002, we had development codes that were put in place. So if you built a single-family residence, you can't have grass in the front yard, and only 50% of the backyard could be landscapable grass. Well, now in Las Vegas, if you build that same home, you can't have grass in the backyard either. So doing these things and having the community buy into these things is what's allowed us to continue to grow, to economically diversify. There isn't necessarily a one-to-one correlation between growth and the expansion of our water footprint. There are a number of reasons why. Those development codes that you just mentioned and that we talked about are one of them. And the fact that we reutilize everything that touches a drain indoors is another one. So those things that have allowed us to be able to continue to grow while same time maintaining or reducing our water footprint are what's allowed us to continue to develop and be one of the most vibrant communities in the country.
Mm-hmm.
Great.
Quick question. What about the communities around here that are built around like the lakes that we have around here, like Desert Shores, the lakes, Lake Las Vegas? They going to be affected by any upcoming water effects or anything?
Again, we do have some changes that are coming, some new things that we're attempting to do that may impact various areas of our community. So I'll talk about that a little bit as we move forward. The 4 main areas that are allowed us, we have water banking agreements with the state of California and Arizona, and then we have a water bank here in Southern Nevada. Our resource planning, our infrastructure is huge, and as we touched on, our water conservation efforts. 2 of the biggest pieces are infrastructure that we've built, the third intake that we've talked about, that intake that goes underneath the bottom of the lake bed, and to go along with it, a low lake level pumping station that pumps water from those lower depths. Those two pieces of infrastructure are huge in what's going to allow us to continue accessing our water supply even as lake levels continue to decline. $2.5 billion in capital projects that we all paid for. That's an investment that our community made in our water infrastructure and frankly, in our future.
Yep.
Our water bills have increased slightly since we started those programs, but the $5 or $6 a month our water bills have increased, to me, are not that I'd pay much more than that to be able to continue to have access to our water supply.
Well, and what's funny is that, and I want to make a mention on that, is people always talk about, oh, your water, like when they're moving in from out of state, people will say to me all the time, your water bill must be crazy high. So I can give you an example. So James and I have a property that's a half acre. Our home's a little over 5,000 square feet. We always have somebody home. We have two laundry rooms. We have 5 bathrooms. Kids are always showering. We have a pool, but we don't have any natural grass anywhere. We have faux grass, and we have tons of landscaping. We have like 50 trees on our property. And even with the pool, refilling the pool, everything, I don't think our water bill's ever been higher than maybe $80 a month. I mean, it's fairly low, and I think one time we had a leak, a landscaping leak, and I think it was like $100 or something. And people will say all the time, "Oh, your water bill's got to be crazy." I'm like, the average small house in Las Vegas, or typical house in Las Vegas on a smaller footprint of land, their water bills are like $20, $40, maybe $50 a month. I mean, it's not crazy. I feel like I don't know what other people pay for water in different cities, but I think that's super reasonable.
Well, mostly from California, because they're so water astringent there that when they move here, that's what they automatically think, that the water is going to be the most expensive.
Yeah, they're like, oh, your water bill's got to be like $5
because
a
California
month.
it is the most expensive, but here where electric is our most expensive and water is super cheap.
We have conservation pricing built into our rates, but just like you, my water bill is typically my smallest bill.
Yeah, for sure. All right, yeah, we'll let you keep going.
So the third intake is one of the most complex construction projects that we've seen in the country. The lake, like I said, this intake goes underneath the bottom of the lake bed. So even as lake levels decline and get to their lowest point, that intake still has access to be able to get water. It's lined by 2,400 concrete rings that each weigh 32 tons.
Wow.
And then a local pumping station, which went into operation last month to be able to pump water from those depths. We had to go out and get a contract to be able to create pumps that can pump water from those depths. They didn't exist.
Wow.
So we had to build 34 submersible pumps to be able to pump water from those lower depths. And because we saw that first intake was going to be inoperable soon, we put the lake level pumping station into operation last month, and it's operating now.
So right now we're pumping from the second intake and the third intake, or just the second?
Second and third intake.
So what is there plans for a fourth? Is there an ability for a fourth? What happens?
Well, no, the third intake goes as low as it can possibly go. It goes 3 miles underneath the bottom of the lake bed.
Wow.
So even as lake levels continue to decline, if lake levels got to their lowest possible point, which is elevation 895, which is called dead pool, at that point, we can no longer release water through Hoover Dam. We can no longer release water downstream to users in Arizona or California. That's the lowest possible go. We can't release water downstream anymore. Because of those two pieces of infrastructure, we in Southern Nevada will still have access to be able to get 900 million gallons of water a day to our community here in Southern
So let me clarify that one more time, just to make sure that, just layman terms. So if we were to get down to what you call dead pool?
Dead pool.
Okay, if we were to get down to dead pool, at that point we would not be able to release water to Arizona and California? Is that what you said?
Arizona, California, Mexico.
So
no water through Hoover Dam.
Basically, we would just have our own water. We would not be able to release other.
We still have access to our water because of those two pieces of infrastructure. We had the foresight to start building 20 years ago.
Okay. All right. Smart.
So those two things are a big reason why we are one of the most water secure cities in the desert Southwest. That's a picture of the low lake level pumping station that's 4 bay right now is completely filled with water. Water banking agreements. We have 2.1 million acre feet of water stored for future use in a water bank in Arizona, water bank in California, and we have a water bank here in Southern Nevada. That's enough to meet current demands for 8 years. So we have 8 years of future use stored in water banks in California, Arizona, and here in Southern Nevada.
Okay, so 8 years. We're good. We're stored. Perfect.
This slide is one of the biggest reasons why we still have the ability to grow as a community. Everything that touches a drain here in southern Nevada is recycled, retreated, and returned to the Colorado River system. So you could go to every home, turn on every faucet, go to every hotel room, turn on every faucet, flush every toilet, and it doesn't deplete from the amount of water that we withdraw from the Colorado River. It's why we focus so heavily on outdoor water conservation. There's a difference between water use and water consumption. That water that we use indoors, we get to use perpetually over and over and over again. That water that touches landscaping outdoors, that's water that's consumed. We only use that water one time, and that's why we have to use that water efficiently. The water that we use indoors, we get to use over and over again. So if you build a house and it has minimal landscaping outside and minimal landscaping in the backyard, like I said, there isn't necessarily a one-to-one correlation between growth and the expansion of our water footprint. So that's how we've been able to continue to grow as a community.
Very interesting. Because when I was a kid, they used to always tell us, turn off your faucet when you're brushing your teeth. And now, recently in the last few years, they've told us you can let that run and run and run. So that's good to know.
I still tell my kids to turn it off because it costs money. But, but it doesn't deplete from the amount of water that we draw from the Colorado River. That's a myth right there you just dispelled. I love it. Appreciate it. All right. And so this slide is about our Water Smart Landscapes program. You mentioned we pay customers $3 a square foot to remove grass and put in Water Smart Landscapes. Since the start of the program, we've removed 202 million square feet of grass.
Wow.
That's impressive.
That 202 million square feet of grass have saved us 163 billion gallons of water. It's enough water to fill the Luxor Pyramid with water 453 times. It's enough grass to take an 18-inch grass and stretch it all the way around the earth more than one time.
Wow. So I want to mention something on that really quick. If you're buying a property in Las Vegas that was built before 2000, as a general rule of thumb, if there is not grass in that backyard, you need to make sure your realtor is looking at your preliminary title report, you guys, to make sure that that previous owner or any owner down the line did not take the easement on there, does not now have an easement on the property for that conservation effort. We have seen too many times that clients didn't understand that on the prelim that there was an easement on there. They bought a property, they want to go now and put in a pool, or they want to go and put in a hot tub, and all of a sudden they didn't realize until after they closed on the home because they didn't understand that prelim, or their realtor didn't understand the prelim, that there is a conservation easement on there that now you can pay that back, right? You can pay it back. You can pay it back with interest and penalties. Is that what it is?
I'm not sure penalties. Interest is included. I'm not sure there are any penalties.
Yeah, the interest I know accrues from the day they took it. So let's say somebody took out that grass in, I don't know when the program was started, but let's just say 2008. They took it out and now it's 2022. You want to go ahead and put in a pool. You're going to pay back that money that owner originally received plus all the interest. So make sure you or your realtor know what they're looking for. If you're looking at a property with no grass in the backyard that was built even before 2005 or even 2010, you never know. Make sure your realtor knows what they're doing. Okay, back to you, Corey.
Back to me. Watering restrictions, mandatory watering restrictions that we have here in our community. Right now in summer, when it's beginning to get its hottest, folks are beginning to be able to ramp up to water 6 days a week. Never during the hottest period of the day between 11 a.m. and 7 p.m. because when it's that hot, as soon as that water hits the grass, it evaporates.
Yep.
During the winter, 1 day a week, and during the fall and spring, 3 days a week. Just simply by doing one simple thing, going to your garage and changing your watering clock, something that everybody in the valley has the ability to do. And if not, you have the ability to remind somebody in your house to be able to do that. Every time we go out and change and reduce from 6 days a week to 3 days a week or 3 days a week to 1 day a week, we reduce our water consumption by 25%.
Wow.
And if we get increased compliance to be able to do that, we have the ability to be able to save as much water as we're losing in the shortage declaration. So that's something we all have control of. It's something our community has bought into, and it's something we have to constantly re-educate people on because we have such a transient community.
Yeah.
People moving from the Southwest or the Midwest or other areas of the country where Mother Nature provides enough water outside to be able to water a lush landscape. Here we have more dry days than anywhere in the country, more days of sun anywhere in the country, and less rain than anywhere in the country. So Mother Nature doesn't provide us those same opportunities. So just doing that one simple thing, adhering to those watering restrictions and never watering on Sunday, we have the ability to be able to control again, the use of that finite resource that we have.
And you guys do a great job with that. I see the TV commercials, I see the billboards, and I see what comes in my mail. You get your watering schedule that's coming in the mail, so you get all that information. You guys save the water for your kids. My kids need water growing up. My future grandkids that are not born yet need water growing up. We're going to be in Las Vegas, so please conserve the water.
The next thing you can do is rat on your neighbors. Report
All right.
water waste. It's not really ratting on your neighbors because
We're all in this together.
the goal isn't necessarily to be punitive. The goal is to create communication.
Yep.
My daughter and I returned from a volleyball trip a couple of weeks ago. We drove up and we were returning home and my daughter said, "What is that yellow flag in our front yard?" And I said, "Oh, shoot." I said another word besides shoot. But I said, "Oh, shoot. That means we got a water waste violation." So while I was gone on this trip, one of my emitters had broken. Water was shooting out into the street.
Yep.
I wasn't home. I had no idea.
Yep.
A lot of times we water late at night or early in the morning. You have no idea. So if a neighbor reports that water waste, we'll come out and leave a flag. We'll say you have something going on your property and give you an opportunity to fix that. If you don't know how to fix it, we can come out and do an educational visit where we show you exactly where the problem is, what the problem is,
Wow.
and how to fix it. But after that, we'll come back 2 weeks later, and if it's not fixed, we'll issue an $80 fine. And then we'll come back a couple of weeks later, and that fine will go to $160. And then a couple of weeks later, $320, then $640, and that'll get up to $1,280.
Wow.
But the goal isn't to be punitive. The goal is to save that water, but that communication creates the ability to save that water.
Yeah.
So don't feel like you're squealing on your neighbor if you're reporting water waste, because the communication really does create an opportunity for them to fix and understand what it is.
An education piece for sure.
What it
I like
is,
the education
what it is
part.
that's going on their property.
Because there's
Yeah.
a lot of people that move in. They have
just
no
don't
idea
know.
about emitters and
Correct.
because they come from the Midwest
Correct.
and whatnot.
So we had decreased water waste investigations through the pandemic, but now that the pandemic is starting to decrease a little bit, we're increasing water waste investigators who will drive through essentially every neighborhood in the country, in the county, and see what it is that's going on and try and report that water waste.
That's great. So let me ask you, is there any kind of restrictions on refilling your pools, dumping your pool water?
Yes, there is. Just about every home in Southern Nevada that's not on septic has a drain port somewhere on your house. You can drain that water, and that water makes its way to the sanitary sewer and goes back to Lake Mead. So that's not
Okay,
a
perfect.
waste of water. People who drain their water into the street, if we see that, we'll come by and issue a water waste fine. So draining your pool doesn't have to be something that depletes from that,
Okay,
again,
good.
that water from the Colorado River.
Good to know.
So this slide is one of our most important. It shows how we've been able to grow. Last year in 2021, we used 27 billion gallons less water than we did in 2002,
Wow.
with an additional 750,000 residents.
We want to go back to that and just make sure that we see there that in 2021, with basically 750,000 more residents, we used 27 billion less gallons of water than we did in 2002.
That's billion with a B.
Yeah, with a B, my favorite number there. So I love that. So we're going to put that on the website and make sure people actually see that, because that's really, really important slide.
So we all deserve, you guys deserve a pat on the back. We all deserve a pat on the back. But what it does is show that we have the ability to grow without increasing our water footprint.
In fact, decreasing.
And quite frankly, we have we have an obligation to continue to do that as we continue to build as a community, continue to economically diversify here in Southern Nevada. And like I said, continue to be one of the most vibrant cities, not just the U.S., but in the world. And we have all of the tools available to us here in that community to be able to continue to grow and do it while decreasing our water footprint.
Wow. Very, very impressive, because I want the city to continue to grow.
And some of the ways that we'll be able to do that, you mentioned already removing grass that's non-functional, grass that's in our streetscapes, grass that's in medians, grass that nobody's going to recreate on, that grass that's in this picture. My kids and I aren't going to stand out in the middle of a median and play Frisbee
Right.
or kick a soccer ball.
No.
So the only people that are stepping foot on this grass are the people that mow it. And it serves no purpose.
Yep.
And so there was a law that was passed this past legislative session, AB 356, and by 2027, all of that grass will need to be removed and will no longer be able to be watered with Colorado River water.
Awesome. That's
Yeah.
great. because it's important to save it.
Well,
Yeah.
I like all the art structures and rock and everything they're doing along the freeways and whatnot to replace that grass. It actually, I think, looks better.
So me too. So do I. So streetscape turf, medium turf, residential community entry turf on slopes and narrow small areas. Again, that grass that nobody steps foot on. Grass that provides recreation or provides a function is not what we're talking about, and we're not talking about grass in single-family residences. But there are still millions of square feet of grass that need to be removed, and that millions of square feet of grass will save us billions of gallons of water annually.
So you guys, the parks are protected. Don't worry about that. But let's go to golf courses.
Golf courses. So there will be no new golf courses that will be able to be developed. But with that, it's a misnomer that golf courses are an inefficient use of water. One, they do provide recreation. Two, golf courses are on water budgets. There's a maximum amount of water that they could use. Three, golf courses have been one of the biggest proponents of our Water Smart Landscapes programs. So golf courses have programs where they show where people play the ball the most. And what golf courses realize is we have grass in areas where people aren't playing the ball. If we remove that grass, we can save money on our bottom line. We can save the community water.
Yep.
The golf courses, since the start of our Water Smart Landscapes program, have removed enough grass to create 8 brand new championship golf courses.
Wow.
So they've been a responsible and responsive partner here in our community, be it something that provides a recreation for 40 million annual visitors, but they're doing it in a water-friendly fashion.
And they reclaim their water and recycle their
And
water.
some of them have places on site where they reclaim water, reclaim water. So they've been an efficient water user of an efficient user of water.
That's great.
They've been good proponents of it.
Yeah, I love that because we want to see the growth.
We talked about the no new turf development for
Yeah.
in the backyard for homes, and so there will be no turf outside of schools, parks, and cemeteries for new development here in Southern Nevada.
Are they going to put any implementations as far as plants and whatnot that are going to be able to be planted in the future?
We have a plant list that we prefer people to use, but plant cover is important because it provides shade and works against creating an urban heat island effect. So the shade is important. Just something that uses drip irrigation instead of spray irrigation. And there are specific plants that you can go to our website and find to plant that are drought tolerant and drought resistant.
Love it.
Awesome.
Limitations of pool size is something that's being proposed, and we're not talking about regular sized pools. We're talking about large, really large pools. So the average pool here in Southern Nevada is about 490 square feet, and there's talk of putting a cap of 600 square feet on pools that are able to be built here in Southern Nevada.
Okay.
So some people are using pools. Some people could have their front yard be an entire pool, a water feature, and a moat throughout the house. Those aren't necessarily efficient uses of water. So this will only affect maybe the top 5% of pools, 5 to 10% of pools here in Southern Nevada.
Wow. Yeah. So that's important. So would that be casinos too?
No, that would not apply to casinos. That
Okay.
would apply to single-family residents.
Okay.
And we're talking about instituting a large water user policy. They're some of the largest single-family residences or large water users use an inordinate amount of water compared to the rest of us here in Southern Nevada. So we're instituting ways to, again, build conservation pricing and to give large water users the ability to try and bring that down to help us here in Southern Nevada.
Okay. That's good to hear.
Yeah.
I mean, regulation and everything is good if we, it's better for the use of everyone.
Another thing we're doing is we have a deal with the Metropolitan Water District of California, Southern California, where we are contributing $750 million. And for that $750 million, they are going to build infrastructure that's similar to ours here in Southern Nevada. Right now, they release all of their wastewater into the ocean, and that water could be going back into their community. And in exchange for that infrastructure that they're building to be able to recycle and retreat their water, we would get more of their water coming out of Lake Mead and the Colorado River. So we're showing what we've done here in our community and lending that to be able to do that in other communities with a financial incentive for us to be able to get some of.
So they are actually doing that? They are actually, okay, perfect.
Yes.
Because people ask us all the time, why isn't California desalinating? Why isn't California, going through their water and reallocating it to the way that they should be, basically?
Have
Oh,
there been
yes.
any efforts into looking? That's a big question that we get as realtors is there ability to pipe it from the ocean and desalinate it? Is that something that anybody has looked into?
Desalination is something that we're looking into. If we were to go into desalination projects, it would be an exchange. So in exchange for the water that they're getting from desalination, we would take more of their water from
our rights.
from the Colorado River.
For sure.
Lessen the flow.
It's expensive. It's very expensive, energy intensive to be able to move water from one place to another. So if we do go into an agreement with desalination, it would likely be some sort of exchange.
Yeah.
And so we have a 50-year water resource plan that looks 50 years into the future at all times.
So this is important. So yeah.
And right now we have enough permanent, temporary, and future resources for the next 50 years. That plan is updated each year by our board, and we feel it's important to have a 5-decade outlook to know that we have enough water resources for the next 50 years.
So is that with increased growth as well? If we, let's say we get 2 more million people.
That takes into account our growth efforts, and they stress test the system, and they put in their growth that wouldn't necessarily occur, but the system is stress tested, and it includes growth as part of that.
Wow.
And so I talked about
So 50-year plan.
Banking agreements, groundwater rights here, and then some of our future resources, Virgin and Colorado River augmentation, Garnet and Hidden Valley groundwater, and groundwater transfers and exchanges, desalination, Colorado River partners, all things that are being considered, all things that we have in our water portfolio, again, for permanent resources, temporary resources, and future resources.
So I just want to repeat that. So we have a 50-year plan, you guys.
50-year plan. It's available on snwa.com. You can go and read it. It's very robust, very thorough, and you can get a look at what our water resources, what our water resource portfolio is for the next 50 years. We talked about these steps that we're taking to get our water consumption and water reduced. Right now, our gallons per capita per day is about 112 gallons per capita per day for each person here in Southern Nevada, and we have a plan and steps put in place to be able to reduce that from 112 now to 86 by 2035.
Wow, that's great. I'm super impressed.
And so we'll need to continue to be a conservation leader here in Southern Nevada. There are 3 things that you can do. We can remove that ornamental turf, we can all change our watering clocks, and we can all squeal on our neighbors.
You know what? I mean, hey, my kids need water. I don't know if, my grandkids, like I said, you guys are going to need water. I need you guys to please conserve the water.
And so, again, when people come to you and they ask those 2 questions,
that's what you can do.
Are we going to run out of water, and are we going to run out of water? You can look them in the face and you can tell them no, and you have the ability to tell them exactly why.
Yep.
Yeah.
For any of your realtors that want me to email this presentation, I can email a PDF of it. I can give you one of my business cards and any questions they
That'd be great. Yeah, we'll definitely put
link
your
or
information
something.
in there. Yeah.
Send those to me, and I'll be willing to answer.
So, I mean, this is great news. I mean, this is so important that we were able to address this. And so now I have to ask the elephant in the room. I have to ask. Everyone's talking about it. It's been all over the news. You guys, Lake Mead right now has been blowing up in the media because we have found some bodies in Lake Mead. Now, again, I've lived here since the 80s. I saw the movie Casino, you guys.
You're Italian.
I'm Italian. I was always told that, I knew a guy who had a cousin named Vinny who might have known about a body being in Lake Mead. So I joke, but sadly there have been some bodies found in Lake Mead. I think we always knew that there were bodies there. There's probably hundreds of thousands of bodies there. Who knows? But tell me, do I need to be worried? Because I've swam in that lake. I drink Las Vegas Finest. Every time I go to a restaurant, they said, you want bottled water, still water, sparkling water. I say, I'll just take tap water. I lived here. I drank from the faucet. Am I safe? What's going on?
You're safe. I drink water from my faucet. I love the tap water here. As lake levels continue to decline, we are likely to find more things in Lake Mead. There's wildlife in Lake Mead. Everything in Lake Mead has a mortality. We have one of the most advanced drinking water systems here in Southern Nevada that you have anywhere in the country.
Wow.
That water coming from the third intake provides a greater quality of water. Ozone. We use ozone to treat our water. It's one of the most foremost water and treatment techniques that we have available to us. We do water treatment and testing. We take more than 300,000 samples a year of water and analyze that, or 56,000 samples, and analyze that more than 300,000 times. We have 367 water quality stations here in Southern Nevada, one in just about every neighborhood that's throughout the community, where we take water samples each and every month. There's no days off with water quality.
Wow.
367 days a year, 24 hours a day, your water quality is monitored. We have to test for more contaminants than bottled water. It's more stringent than bottled water.
Wait, did you guys hear that? We test for more contaminants out of Lake Mead when we're drinking that water, then it's more stringent than bottled water. So you think you're safe drinking the bottled water, you guys out there? You actually are safer to turn on your tap and pour some of that. So did you guys hear it? I heard it. Did you hear it, James?
I heard it.
We're required to test for about 95 contaminants. We test for about 150.
Wow.
We are one of the few municipalities in the country that has our own research and development lab here at the lake, and we look for things that we don't have to test for right now.
Wow.
So we do our own research and development. Besides water conservation, water quality is one of the things that other communities come to us here in Southern Nevada and they say, how are you doing this? How do you have the ability to be able to do this? So all of the water that comes out of every single tap in Southern Nevada meets or exceeds all federal health safety standards. So your water quality, some people don't like the taste of it. We do have extremely hard water here in Southern Nevada. One of my daughters likes the taste of water that comes out of the tap. One that prefers the taste of water that comes from bottled water because of the calcium and magnesium as that water makes its way down from the top of the Colorado Rockies to Lake Mead. But taste and safety are not equatable. We have some of the safest and some of the highest quality water anywhere in the country.
Sounds like above and beyond.
So
Really.
what I heard you say to me is, A, I can get my boat in the lake this weekend. James, we're going boating. Let's take the kids out. Let's get out there tubing, wakeboarding, surfing, all of it. Secondly, I heard you say that I could turn on my tap water, I could drink it, and I'm safe. I also heard you tell me that we can grow for the next 50 years, no problem. And if we continue to conserve even more water beyond that, and we have a plan, you guys, we're going to be okay. We are one of the most safest water safe states. What did you say? Say it again.
One of the most water secure states in the desert Southwest.
Water secure states in the desert Southwest. I love it.
Absolutely.
Security is huge. That makes people feel safe, and when they're moving here, they want to know they're moving here and be able to stay here.
So one more thing, just to bring it back, circle back, full back, because I know all of our listeners are going to hear this again. So the bodies in Lake Mead, you guys, the elephant in the room. We know there's bodies in Lake Mead. We're going to find more things in Lake Mead over the years. I'm sure we are. There's going to be boats. There's going to be bodies. There's going to be wildlife.
There's a plane at the bottom of Lake Mead.
Has absolutely no impact on the water quality that comes out of your tap.
Absolutely no impact on the water quality. You guys, and you can swim. I've been in Lake Mead. I think that water is totally clear. I actually like it better than Lake Powell. I've been all over these lakes out here, and I like it better. So, because it's also, it's diluted. I mean, Lake Mead is the largest man-made body of water west of the Mississippi. You guys heard that out of Jillian Batchelor's mouth. I've been saying that for years and years.
Correct.
It is true. So, and it's huge. I mean, it's in multiple states. I mean, you guys, it's ginormous. It's so huge. So, Lake Mead is safe. Drink it. Swim. Go out there boating if you can launch. You know, we'll talk to Parks and Recs about that. But
Jet ski sales will be up this year.
Yeah. Anything else you want to leave us with? This has been fantastic.
No, I appreciate the opportunity for you guys to have me talk about these topics. It's important for us as residents. It's important to our future residents. It's important to your business. It's important to our way of life. So thank you very much for the opportunity.
Thank you for educating everybody. We appreciate it.
You guys, again, this is Jillian Batchelor, and filling in for Daryl Hannah is James Batchelor, my other half. Filling in for Vegas Real Talk. We talk about all topics here in Las Vegas, not just real estate, but what is real to you and what's real in your life. We thank you for listening, and we will see you soon again on Vegas Real Talk. Bye, guys.
Take care.